Okay guys, welcome back. We are going to be hopping into our first semifinals match. It's going to be between these two guys, Protoss versus Zerg. PiLiPiLi just going to be playing back to back as his match versus Semper, pretty scrappy. But Namshar, a really strong European player, has been waiting the longest as he had already defeated, I believe it was Cham 2-0 and had a bye over Jim Rising, so both these players kind of ended up starting out in the round of 8 in a weird way. Should be a fun one though. PiLiPiLi, his PvZ is definitely a pretty interesting one to watch. He's gone from crazy all-ins to late game air toss to crazy all-ins to kind of a little bit of like semi-mid game macro play. That's been a good mix, but taking a look at these two players, again, we've already kind of talked a bit about PiLiPiLi. He's a really strong Protoss player in the North American scene these days. Possibly one of the strongest, only really seconded by Neeb and I guess sometimes Puck. But Namshar, really good European player who I think is still just struggling to get the really big victories. That is the big thing. Namshar still has not won any of the Ladder Heroes multi-finals, though he's been an active participant in many of them and actually gotten some pretty good runs into multiple of them. So I really am always like kind of just in the back of my mind rooting a little bit for Namshar because I'm just like, oh man, you keep getting so damn close over and over again. Similarly, PiLiPiLi has only won one monthly finals, and it was a fairly it was a decent amount of time ago. I think it was back in 2016. June of 2016 is when PiLiPiLi won his monthly finals, but he hasn't won one since. So it's been a while. I'm sure he would love to be able to get that. I think that he has the most second place finishes of Ladder Heroes at 4 second place finishes across the course of like almost 2 years. Should be an interesting one. I don't believe that these players have probably played too many times. Maybe a few times. Yeah, they played once. It was a few months ago. PiLi ended up taking it 1-0 in the Wardy Team League. I guess that PiLiPiLi has a 100% win rate versus Namshar in competitive series. There you go. Heard it here first. Okay. Looks like we're just waiting for PiLiPiLi to get ready. Get Namshar into the game and all that good stuff. Newkirk Precinct is going to be at map number 1. Looks like Abyssal Reef chosen for game 2. And Cactus Valley chosen for game 3. Abyssal Reef, I know No Regret was talking about this. Abyssal Reef, he considers it a Protoss favorite map. I think a lot of people will consider it a little bit Protoss favorite just because there's a lot of narrow choke points and everything that you can sort of abuse with force fields, and especially that kind of Immortal Sentry Adept mid-game army becomes really scary on this map. Of course, PiLiPiLi is also known for going for some air toss on this map every so often. I would say it was probably his second favorite map after Proxima Station for going for the big Golden Armada, carriers, and Void Ray army. We'll see if he ends up doing something similar again. But yeah, should be fun. For those who are wondering, by the way, exactly how this the prize pool breaks down for NA Ladder Heroes multi-finals, if you're tuning in on the later side, the way that this ends up working out is first and second place take $200 and $75 respectively. Third place, i.e. the loser of this match and the next match, are going to get $37 for making it this far in. And all of the people who made it to the round of 8 are going to get $12.50 for their troubles. That'd be Jon Snow, who got 2-0'd by True, Optimus, who got 2-0'd by Masa, Semper, who got 2-1'd by PiLiPiLi, and Namshar, who got, and Cham, who got 2-0'd by Namshar. And actually, if I take a look at it, every single series except for PiLi versus Semper so far has been a 2-0. So it's been a little bit of a crazy day. As soon as Namshar gives the go-ahead, we will hop into game number 1. Once again, gonna be pretty fun one for the semifinals match. Namshar. Are you ready? It's also a bit surprising, you know, Namshar, I was talking about how he hasn't really gotten that big victory that he's been looking for a while. And not just in Ladder Heroes. I would argue he hasn't really gotten a lot of huge victories in just other online tournaments in general. So I'm always just kind of waiting to see when is that big Namshar breakout performance going to end up showing up and really causing a bit of a crazy upset. Newkirk Precinct, bit of an interesting map. Slightly easier to defend, I think, third expansions, but also some pretty short rush distances across the map. But here we go, hopping into that semi-finals match, ladies and gentlemen, for a total prize of $75 or $200. We have our first game. It's gonna be a best of 3 still. And spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player from Dead Pixels. Put your hands together for the European Namshar, who also played in the European monthly finals just before this. Must be getting pretty tired now. Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Protoss player from Psystorm Gaming. It's PiLiPiLi, who may just be feeling tired from that last series because it was so scrappy. And he was saying, you know, typical series between him and Semper. No, but I bring up the kind of tiredness that may come into effect for Namshar because I know that a lot of people feel this way when they play in tournaments and stuff. It's not necessarily playing games back to back to back that always is the most tiring thing. It can be tiring playing in 2 tournaments back to back, but more often than not, what I've heard from players, and I know also commentators feel this way too, it's the whole idea of playing games with big breaks between each one of these series and each one of the games. That is what really is tiring. So if you play one game and then you have to wait for 45 minutes and then you play another series and then you have to wait another 30 minutes, that is what really will end up just draining all of your energy. And that's kind of the situation Namshar had. Namshar played in the European monthly finals, got kind of okay, but ended up getting knocked out. Then was waiting around for like 2-ish hours, and then he got to play one, or then I think then he had like a bye the first round. So then he went to played against Cham. It was yeah, Cham, and 2-0s Cham very quickly, first player to make it to the semifinals, and then just waits around for like another hour while the rest of the series kind of play catch up. So he's had a lot of downtime for not that many games, but. Well, look at this. We do have a pretty quick 3-hatch play from Namshar. Not quite a 3-hatch before pool or anything, but gets down the 3rd hatch before PiLiPiLi can really do anything to be annoying about it. The probe or whatever. PiLiPiLi does go for the double gateway opening at the front. Not too surprising, as it is much nicer to get a faster wall off on this map especially. So you can Chrono Boost out 2 Adepts. Poke on the other side of the map. If you were here for the EU Ladder Heroes monthly finals, you'll have seen Hearthstone do a pretty similar thing, and you just kind of, I think it's a bit of a stylistic preference from Protoss players of how committed you get with those Adepts. I find that PiLiPiLi generally is a little bit more defensive, not quite as defensive as Hearthstone, but he'll poke forward and kind of do a little bit of judgment call of like, yeah, I think I can sack in for some kills, but more often than not, he does prioritize keeping these Adepts alive for later on. Especially with the Twilight Council coming down, that's most likely going to be for resonating glaives leading out later. And the Adepts make their way across the map. Namshar gets a scout out on this now. First vision that he actually really sees of his opponent. Didn't even move out with those Zerglings that he made. And has 8 Zerglings on the way, which is more than enough to actually deal with this. Queen's definitely coming out a little bit on the later side over at this one, but that's because he sent his 2nd Queen up to the 3rd. And yeah, there is the defensive shade from PiLiPiLi. Gonna try and right-click down. Just some Zerglings. Gets out of there. Only takes a few hit points of hull damage. 10 hit points. Okay, but it is gonna be a, looks like 3-gate Adept attack as the 3rd gateway's on the way. Roboxility is popping down. Should be able to get out a Warp Prism right around the time that the Adepts move in. But Namshar doesn't really know exactly what's gonna be. 2-gate opening with the Adepts, yeah, it's pretty standard kind of harassment. Can lead into Dark Templars with a Warp Prism. It can lead into an Oracle opening. Really, Zergling's moving around over here and kind of poking up at the front is the first real vision he's seen. He's now scouted out the 3rd gateway, so that's not really revealing a whole lot, but he now sees 3 Adepts. Maybe starting to get a better sense of things, and yeah, he's going to actually have a Roach Warren being made right now. Just finished up, and he can start pumping out some Roaches pretty soon. should come just in time for the kind of big attack. And yeah, now he sees, I think, some of the Adepts starting to move out. He's going to confirm that there's a third. Confirming the third, or at least an attempt at a third, should tell Namshar, okay, this is probably a 3-gate Adept attack, not a 4-gate Adept attack. You are expanding behind this. You're not trying to end the game or do a ridiculous amount of damage right here, but if you can, you will. So he knows just a handful of roaches will be okay, and then he could potentially even go back into droning and start teching up a little bit. Ooh, I love this. Waits until the move out of the Shades. Adepts gonna let the Shades finish, so they do move back. Photon Overcharge is gonna be enough to push back this few number of Zerglings, but the roaches are out now. Namshar started making those roaches pretty damn early on, so he's gonna be able to catch PiLiPiLi out in the middle of the map before Pili can really get into a middle line. This is one of the best ways you can defend against Adepts, is just prevent them from getting close enough to even shade into the middle line. They have to walk, and whenever they're walking around to a middle line, they're almost always taking damage. Zerglings make their way back in. One more Photon Overcharge is going to be available in a second, and there it is on that other pylon. Namshar doesn't seem to be backing out, as we can see on the minimap, but PiLiPiLi does cancel the shade and is not finding any damage whatsoever. PiLiPiLi having lost 4 workers now, and a pylon getting supply block. No reinforcements going to be coming out. War Prism's in the main base has dropped down some of the Adepts, and that's where most of the damage is actually happening. 5 workers killed. Not too many roaches over here at the third, but PiLiPiLi, oh, he finds a drone transfer. Takes a couple of these Adepts and decides to try and focus fire some of them down. Now finding some really good damage. Looks like the drop in the main base has been pushed back for now, but as soon as Namshar moves away, the drop comes back in. These Adepts actually going to be able to shade on out as well, securing most of their lives, and PiLiPiLi is really starting to make some of that good damage happen now. This is the kind of damage he was looking for. Namshar, he invested a lot into these early roaches. You have to remember, he does not have a lair, so he doesn't have roach speed on the way, doesn't have a Hydra Den, an Infestation Pit, Aspire, nothing attack-wise is coming out. And this puts him in a really awkward spot. He needed to defend this without really losing more than maybe like 5 to 6 workers. And he's already lost about 12 or so. He's losing more still, and these Adepts are still alive. The Warp Prism is still alive. Okay, it looks like I think 2 or 3 more of these Adepts will probably end up falling before the Shades finish up. 11 more workers have been killed off, bringing us up to a total of 24 workers killed. PiLiPiLi leads not only in terms of worker count, but he also leads in form of tech with the robotic facility already finished up. He has sentries warped in. He has 3 immortals out of the map. Actually, a lot of sentries warped in. And he has a third. What does Namshar to do now? He's got a big army supply, but it's mostly just roaches that don't even have speed. Lair is going to be finishing up, but if he waits until speed finishes, I think it's just going to be too late. Trying to engage into like 7 sentries and 4 immortals, maybe even 5 immortals by that point. There's going to be suicide. Alright, Adepts will continue little bits and pieces of damage, but PiLiPiLi looking really, really strong right now. Even if he is down in supply, he's actually moving across the map aggressively. If you combine all of his Adepts together, that is quite a few. He's going to also move in with a War Prism to drop into the main base. That means he's not going to have reinforcements for the rest of his army. Really going to be relying on good force field to keep the rest of his army alive. If he ends up realizing he's overcommitting, Namshar has not been droning up at all for any of those lost drones. War Prism gets very low on health, but PiLiPiLi looking for an opportunity to move to the third. Is he going to be overcommitting? Namshar, he hasn't been playing greedy behind this. And PiLiPiLi not really able to make a whole lot of damage happen. He's going to just move back with a Warp Prism, warps in some more units, and says, okay, well, if your units are in the main, they're not going to be over at the forward location. He's got at least a few roaches not involved in the fight now. Force Field locking down some of these roaches and Ravagers, but looks like the Ravagers do manage to knock it down. Roach speed is on the way. It's about halfway finished. Ravagers do get some good corrosive vials. Gonna knock out that War Prism. That's a big win. Immortal's doing a lot of damage, but is there gonna be enough over here on the front lines for Namshar to hold strong? PiLiPiLi just doing the hug of death. Normally something reserved for Zerg players, but if you're feeling good, you're feeling good. 4 Immortals. Continue the damage, but there's no reinforcements coming out from PiLiPiLi. The Immortals are getting Focus Fire down. One of the Immortals has Hardened Shield still available, but eats some Corrosive Biles. This is looking really, really close. Namshar did finish up his lair attack, so it's not totally all in it anymore. He's still sitting behind in workers, though. He needs to not only clean this up, he needs to be able to push across the map. PiLiPiLi has a reinforcing Immortal coming in. 3 Immortals still alive. To be honest, I think he could still back off over here and be okay. It wouldn't be a game-winning position, but it would be a good position. Because even though Namshar has his Roach speed now, he has his Ravagers out, he doesn't have any other form of tech. He has no transition, he has no 4th expansion. He's got to do something more. He's only sitting on 49 workers. PiLiPiLi still maintains a distinct advantage, but it can turn around with just one good engagement. One more snipe off on the Warp Prism while it's still trying to warp in some more units. Some good pickoffs on the Immortals. Some Corrosive Biles. Looks like some Adepts for PiLiPiLi. Making their way into the 3rd. Kills off 2 workers, but really just buying time for the Immortals now to move into the main base. Very tanky units can absorb a couple of Roach hits. And just buy space. Look at this. Namshar haven't lost 2 or 3 workers, still sitting at 47. He just has not had any time to drone up. Finally, first round of drones in a long time comes out. But PiLiPiLi is taking a 4th expansion before the Zerg player. He has a Forge now coming out for like some of the latest upgrades I've seen in a game for a while. Disruptors coming out of his double Robo. Blink coming out. This is the advantage PiLi holds. It's not supply. It is economy and tech. I guess I shouldn't say the advantage. It's the advantage is. Immortals, gotta be careful. Nice control from PiLi. Ooh, cuts it really close over there with one of those Immortals. But scouts out that 4th. Is he gonna go after the drone? I think Namshar realizes it. He's like, wait a second. No, Roaches. Stay. PiLi could just go back in over there. He might actually be able to snipe that off. Not having a Warp Prism and 2 Immortals for the big attack, though, may be costly. He's got a Disruptor. He's got 2 Disruptors. 3rd and 4th one's also on the way, but still a good ways away. Immortal's going to be able to snipe off that 4th. There's 0 defenses over there. Yeah, it gets canceled, as you can see on the minimap. I don't want to take my eyes off of this army, because one Disruptor hit could really decide and lock in this game for PiLiPiLi. Kills a Roach. It's not enough. Namshar still keeps some hope alive. This is a hard angle to engage into. He doesn't have a lot of room. He has to have perfect splits. That's a pretty good one. 3rd and 4th Disruptors are here, though. That's the 3rd Disruptor. 4th one should be available. Where is it? There it is. Pretty good splits overall, but finally PiLiPiLi is starting to get the big hits he was looking for. Couple of workers go down. Corrosive Bile is actually doing a massive amount of damage to this army. Oh my god, is Namshar actually starting to push on through? There's only really it's mostly Disruptors left alive right now. Namshar has to do a full cleanup on this army, though, and continue to push in. The Ravagers are all still alive. PiLiPiLi, is not in range of any more Photon Overcharges. Oh, Mothership Core gets really close to some of those Corrosive Biles. One more Photon Overcharge. The last Photon Overcharge thrown down. 4th expansion could also be vulnerable. Blink was researched, so he can use Blink Micro. 1 Photon Cannon here to buy a bit of time, but against this many units, not going to buy very much. 2 Zealots also warped in. PiLiPiLi starting to push this back. There's more reinforcements coming in for Namshar. But remember, Namshar doesn't have a 4th. The longer this game goes on, the more it's going to favor PiLi. The Roaches and Ravagers are cleaned up. The more reinforcements are coming in. Namshar remaking a lot of those Ravagers. But the time it takes for those Ravagers to come out is time for the Disruptors to also come out. PiLiPiLi has not been super lucky on those Disruptor shots. 1 Immortal gets focus fire. There it is. Focus fire down. Disruptor, though, cleans up 2 of the Ravagers. Not a lot of a front line anymore for PiLiPiLi, though. Photon Overcharge is now used in the natural. That leaves the 4th expansion a bit vulnerable. Adapt's coming in, gonna create a bit of a flank. But PiLiPiLi is losing some of these probes, and there's more reinforcements coming in from Namshar that act as a flank on the flank. Disruptor shot whiffs. Namshar continue to climb in supply. Oh my god, he's almost 60 supply up right now. Roaches and Ravagers be damned. He is making a lot of progress, and he's reestablishing that 4th expansion once again. Warp Prism for PiLiPiLi. Moves forward almost just as a scouting mechanism to see how many more Ravagers is he about to face off against. PiLi gets a really good connection, killing off 3-4 Roaches and a Ravager. Doing a nice job continuing to dodge those corrosive biles, but oh god, once again we have the roaches splitting up a little bit. I don't know how much I like the split up. He does bait some of PiLiPiLi's units out, but Disruptor kills more Ravagers. The roaches are doing some good damage, but only 2 workers actually killed off at the end of the day. Blink was used for the purpose. Oh my god, that might have sealed the deal. PiLiPiLi takes an enormous advantage now. He's finally going to be climbing an army supply, almost leading up an army supply for the first time in almost 4 or 5 minutes. PiLiPiLi is ahead in army supply and ahead in supply total. Zerglings, that's the final signs of defeat for Namshar. He just does not have an economy even to reproduce more roaches. He was desperate to try and finish it. He was trying to get the faster reinforcements out across the map. And now PiLiPiLi, he's scaled too much. He has managed to hold. He's warping in nothing but stalkers. He's got a couple of adepts left over from that engagement. He's got a disruptor coming out. And all he has to do is kill off these Ravagers, shut down the fourth, and GG gets called. PiLiPiLi takes game number 1. Dear Lord, PiLiPiLi is just giving us fantastic games today. Could not ask for better games. And we get ready to hop into game number 2. That was just game 1. PiLiPiLi versus Semper, amazing series. PiLiPiLi versus Namshar, turning out to be an awesome series. And it was really Namshar that impressed me in that game, because more often than not, you're sitting in that position as Namshar. Asking for US East, yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, so just checking. Okay, yeah, PiLiPiLi, of course, is fine. Good-mannered guy. Wants to give Namshar the best ping that he can find. But Namshar made that look so ridiculously close. And, you know, maybe feeling a little bit of the ping as it came down to, like, the splitting versus the disruptors. He did a great job splitting versus some of those early disruptors. And that was what really kept him in there. Because PiLiPiLi invested into all those disruptors early on. It didn't actually get great shots off with them. He got okay shots, like mediocre to okay shots. So the first, like, 5, maybe 6 disruptor shots. Then he started getting a little bit more work done, but the corrosive vials also for Namshar really pulled him through. And it's kind of funny because we kept seeing PiLiPiLi trying to do the hug of death that normally Zerg players are known for. And it makes sense versus the corrosive vials, because if you get close enough, it makes it hard for those corrosive vials to land, but Namshar was expertly kind of laying them out really just on point for where PiLiPiLi's army was going to be, and was able to take really good engagements because of it. Looks like PiLiPiLi just wants a quick little break, and I'm sure that Namshar is moderately okay with that right now after such a crazy game. But we hop onto Abyssal Reef for game number 2. This is again that map that I always have to bring up. PiLiPiLi loves going for the Golden Armada on this map, but he also loves the mind games. He's okay with kind of just making it look like, you know what, my prediction for this game, I don't make many predictions. My prediction for this game is that PiLiPiLi is going to open up with a Stargate. But I will not predict whether or not he goes straight into Golden Armada or if he goes into something else. But I think he's going to open up with Stargate because it keeps his opponent guessing. Going for the Oracle opening, maybe even making like 1 Phoenix or a Void Ray or something, can leave your opponent uncertain if they really need to commit versus the Golden Armada army. They have to force them to scan, sacrifice some Overlords, and then you can just go straight into a massive Adept attack or something. Well, looks like Namshar is ready. We're hopping into it. Abyssal Reef. We'll see you guys there. Wrong screen. That's the wrong screen. Almost had a good production for today, or for this monthly finals. But here we are, copping into game number 2, North America versus Europe, as we start up in the corner of Europe. The blue Zerg players taking down 0-1, one game away from elimination. Give it up for Dead Pixel's Namshar. It's been playing a long day of StarCraft today. Let's find down here on the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Protoss player. Give it up for Psystorm Gaming's PiLiPiLi. Oh, and this is what I like to call awesome StarCraft. Beautiful play from both players. Super duper scrappy. Sure, mistakes here and there every so often, but really just making the most of whatever situation you're in. Finding ways to crawl back into a game. That's what I really love about that play from Namshar. Now, PiLiPiLi might actually do something sort of funny that we saw from, I think it was Hearthstone earlier on. He kept doing this on Abyssal Reef where he would wait for the third to go down, and then he would drop down a pylon. He would send his mothership core across the map and photon overcharge the pylon, try and kill it off, the third. The funny thing is, it worked once, and the second time it kind of didn't work, but then he was able to snipe it off later with the depths, because Hatchery was down to like 200, 300 hit points or something. It was in the red still. But Namshar is just waiting around. He's getting up his Zerglings, and he's actually going to wait until these Zerglings are here before trying to take a third expansion. So PiLiPiLi's going to scout this. Has to be a little bit concerned, but sees the drone moving down and around. And unless this is some kind of sick mind game, he should know. Okay, there is a third expansion being taken. And there it is. Sick caster predictions, Fear Dragon. Stargate is thrown down. Of course, I do not have enough mental capabilities to try and predict whether or not PiLiPiLi goes to the Golden Armada on this map or not. He's loved to mix it up. It is just always the threat, the fear of it. Also really interesting, you know, a lot of Protoss players have been doing this. It's like the opposite wall-in that I enjoy seeing Protoss players go for, where they wall off this side over toward the third rather than walling off toward the main. Though I know I've heard the reasoning for it is that if you wall off this side, it's a lot easier to just wall off this side. If you scout out with your adept or your probe or something, you see, oh, they're sending lings across the map. They're about to all in me. It's a lot easier to throw up one gateway right over here and kind of wall things up, like a gateway in a pylon or something. But this just feels so weird to me because I don't know. I'm not a fan of the choke point as much. PiLiPiLi knows much better than me, and maybe it's just because I am really bad at dealing with mutas, and of course, I'm a Diamond League player. I'm not going to think too much about my kind of experience in this matchup, but if you're opening up with Stargate, who the hell cares if they go for mutas? You're getting out your Phoenix, you're getting out that Oracle, making his way across the map. Namshar going to get his first scout out very soon on it. Sees the Mushcore, sees the third expansion attempt. Was going to try and right-click down that probe, but the Oracle moves into the third and is going to get forced back for now. Looks like the third expansion was successfully thrown down for PiLiPiLi. And the Phoenix going to be revealing itself as well. So I want to note it's one Phoenix. Chrono boosted out one Phoenix and just focuses on that third, focuses on the economy. It's to keep the Zerg player guessing. Could be nice for just sniping off. You know what? I am really convinced PiLiPiLi and Hearthstone are both really good friends. And I really feel like this looks a lot like Hearthstone's PvZ. I mean, down to the probe that was sitting over by the third, looking for a potential to get an overcharge and snipe off the third. You go for the double adept opening, kind of poke forward. But there is going to be a fleet beacon thrown down. So PiLiPiLi is not just going to go into the standard old PvZ ground-based army. He's throwing down his second Stargate. He's getting up that fleet beacon. He's going to get up some Void Rays most likely pretty soon. Although he is staying pretty light on units. He's got 6 adepts making their way across the map. Those are going to be kind of like the space creating adepts. Sacrifice their life for the greater good. Oracle also going to try and join in and get some extra damage done. Especially if you can snipe off some of these queens. He's going to focus fire down one of them. No transfuse available. This is the high energy queen. So that's a... Oh! Sacrifice the Oracle. Almost could have gotten away with it too if it weren't for that meddling queen. Depths. Killing off 4 workers. Not too bad. Remember, this is about buying space. Keeping the adepts alive but still keeping Namshar at home and taking damage is the key component of this kind of attack. Killing off 8 workers is really, really nice. PiLiPiLi may have bought enough time now because carrier number 1 and carrier number 2 are on the way. Carrier number 3, bit supply blocked, I think. No, not supply blocked. Just waiting for resources. I thought he had something started up, but I guess it was just Chrono Boost. Roach is going to move across the map to try and counterattack. PiLiPiLi only has 3 warp gates, so it can warp at a few adepts, but really wants to minimize it. Carriers are mineral intensive units, and they have interceptors that are also mineral intensive things. Well, looks like that wall up going to work out quite well, so there we go. PiLiPiLi saying Fear Dragon. No, the wall-in is critical. I got an air army. I don't need to worry about wall-ins and mutas and stuff. I can fly around my bases. But carrier number 1, 2, and 3, they're going to be popping. Well, at least number 1 and 2. I think his 3rd carrier still about only halfway finished. This is enough for PiLiPiLi to defend against early aggression. Now, Namshar's response looks like it's going to be get up Baneling Nest so he can help deal against a large number of adepts on the ground, supporting adepts. And also get up Aspires. So there are a couple ways of seeing players try and deal with this. Some players do actually like to go into the Hydralisk Den. Hydras are a little bit iffier on this map, especially just because there's so many cliff faces. Chasing down the carriers is a really difficult thing to do on this map. The other option that I've seen is Infestors, and Infestors is especially volatile because you're so reliant on getting these not fungal growths, neural parasites on your opponent's carriers or their void rays. And then if they realize it, they can snipe off your Infestors. If they catch your Infestors with fungal or with Revelation on the Oracle, it's just doom and gloom all around. It looks actually very one-sided in that case. What's gonna be mutas? Whoa, hold on. This is not Corruptors. That's a bit of a surprise. Second Spire also on the way, so he's gonna go into Muta Corruptor maybe? Mutas get some good damage done. 7 workers killed is nothing to scoff at. A little bit of a delayed mining as well. Going to be able to kill off a photon cannon before the rest of the army gets there. Just abusing the immobility of this army. This is really nice. This is a tricky, tricky game to play too. Your opponent's on triple Stargate. And you have the balls to make mutas. And not only that, but Abyssal Reef is not exactly a map where you're that far spread out. I mean, you can look at every... You can have a bit of every nexus in your vision from one camera angle shot. Couple of photon cannons are going to be able to help defend against a small number of mutas. We don't see any more on the way, only 7, so it almost looks like these mutas are Namshar's way of putting pressure on with a low amount of army supply while he can continue to play greedy behind it. He's getting up his 2-1 upgrades. I guess he has melee, and he's getting up his Carapace upgrade for his air army. Very, very important, by the way. Those armor upgrades for the air army are incredibly important, especially if you're going to go over into this big Corruptor-based style, because it's kind of nice for the Void Rays, because Void Rays do, they tick with their big old beam pretty quickly, so armor upgrades are a little bit helpful, but it's mostly the carriers. Oh my god, do carriers really, really start to see quick drop-offs if you have good armor upgrades, but it looks like a lot of workers going down. I was looking at the wrong base, but Adepts are going to make their way into the main base. PiLiPiLi dropping down to 56 workers. Still going to be able to reproduce those 3 at a time, so it's not the end of the world. But it does just set him behind a little bit further. Adepts able to kill off 3 workers, but mostly just getting cleaned up by the roaches. Really, really nice defense over here from Namshar. In fact, I really like how Namshar is playing this. Okay, but there is still that big scary question. Can you take on the big army? This is not just a lot of carriers that are going to have a hard time versus the armor upgrades. It's a lot of Void Rays that just do really well versus the Corruptors. Corruptors, I don't think they're in big enough numbers just yet. There's 22 Corruptors out on the map, but I don't think this is 22 Corruptors. Actually, no, maybe it might be, but Void Rays, Prismatic Alignment has been used. You need to move back. There's no way you can engage into that. Revelation Throwdown in every single one of these Corruptors. Yeah, I'm sure trying to get a little bit too far ahead of himself, I think. Okay, Prismatic Alignment is down. He goes after some of the Void Rays. Snipes, doesn't snipe it off. Tries to focus fire down, doesn't quite get it. He's losing so many Corruptors in the process. He does have a balling economy right now. He's got a 5th expansion already finished up. He's mining gas from it. He's building up, or gonna be able to spend that bank very quickly. He's still maxed out almost. So don't get me wrong. He can afford to take a cost-inefficient trade, but there is a limit to it. He needs to get better snipe offs than this. PiLiPiLi's only lost... He's lost 5 Void Rays. I guess that's kind of seems like a lot. PiLiPiLi might be getting too far ahead of himself, though. He's 5 Void Rays on the way, but can he move this far out? Is it actually safe? Prismatic Alignment's off cooldown, I believe. Yeah, Prismatic Alignment is off cooldown. Having Revelations right now on these Corruptors is also really nice because it gives you an idea of where you can continue to attack into. I don't think PiLiPiLi knows about that bottom left-hand base. This is going to be a difficult attack to defend against. Only 2 Photon Overcharges available because the other pylons are still finishing up. Corruptor is also trying to buy time against the Voiders and the Carriers, and that's going to be a full-out cancel on that 4th expansion for PiLiPiLi. Photon Cannon should be able to deal with the rest of this, especially with some more reinforcing Void Rays, but PiLiPiLi is just almost going for it. If he can snipe out this 4th, this may end up being worth it because he'll clean up back at home, but he's starting to pull back. He doesn't actually have that many Void Rays left over. The Corruptors in reinforcing waves. He's taking on this army. PiLiPiLi, the Carriers are staying alive. Is it going to be enough? That +1 Carapace upgrade, sorry, +2 Carapace upgrade on those Corruptors, really soaking up a lot of damage. All the Carriers except for 1 have been sniped off. The Void Rays start to reinforce now that the counter damage has been done on the other side of the map. PiLiPiLi, he has Prismatic Alignment on a handful of these Void Rays. Not all of them, but a handful of them. 10 Corruptors being produced at a time, though. I just cannot commend Namshar enough. This is such a sick play, because as much as I love how PiLiPiLi is playing this out, we've seen a lot of Protoss players do this. And we've seen Protoss players just devastate Zerg players who do not know how to fight this army, and Namshar is handling it so well. There's so many weird decisions that if you look at this the army fights, you'll think, what is it? You don't even know. Is it better to focus down the Carriers? Is it better to focus down the Void Rays? Is it better to back off right now versus just continue to commit? It's so difficult to read. And Namshar, it seems like, is doing such a great job with it. I think if he continues to shut down the 4th, he may just be able to play the I'm out macroing you game and you don't have a 4th, so you can't reinforce this. We can't continue to reproduce this army. Void Ray count up to 14 now. 15th on the way. We can already see PiLiPiLi, who was producing out of 4 Stargates earlier, only producing out of 3 or 2 now. His main base nearly mined out. He still has gas from one of these gas geysers, but even that's about to run out. Natural expansion very low on minerals. PiLiPiLi actually has the gas. He doesn't have the minerals right now. That 4th expansion is going to be so important for him to be able to defend. Hydra's on the way too. Oh, this tech switch. PiLiPiLi only has 1 carrier. Hydras versus the Void Rays could go so well for Namshar, especially if PiLiPiLi gets really aggressive right here. Almost 20 Hydras, 27 Hydras are about to pop. One of the bases are going to end up falling very quickly. Namshar didn't continue to expand as rapidly as he did before. He didn't take up this top expansion. He's been spending a lot of those minerals. Infestors on the way. Pathogen glands are going to be finishing up as well, just in time. 1 fungal growth with those Hydras could actually end this game, but the Hydras have been revealed. Carriers have got to be careful. 1 carrier already goes down. The Void Ray is now under attack. Corruptors buying a lot of time. The Hydras are actually just killing off the Interceptors. Now it's only Void Rays versus the Hydras, and Namshar is winning this even without the Infestors. 4th expansion was established for PiLiPiLi, but it's not even mining just yet. He's losing his entire air army. I don't know if you can bounce back from this. This is not an army you can easily reproduce. GG gets called. Namshar ties up the series 1-1 with some of the sickest anti-Golden Armada play I've seen in a long time. Not since Snoot's defense against PiLiPiLi in one of the, I think the February monthly finals of Ladder Heroes have I seen such good defense against that Golden Armada. Really, really well done. Just, I guess the best way to put it is he just did a great job keeping PiLiPiLi from getting that 4th up and also making a lot of really small, subtle decisions. Rushing out those Carapace upgrades for the air army makes a huge difference on for the Corruptors versus the Carriers. And then having the mindset to know when to snipe out the Carriers, killed off enough of them. I was like, cool, I killed off enough couriers. You're still making void rays because you see my corruptor count. I'm going to continue to trade them slowly but surely and just tease at engagements. That's the other thing. He didn't just directly engage ever, but he didn't just also give PiLi a lot of room to maneuver around with. He teased at engagements and forced him to think, look at how many corruptors I have. Keep staring at the corruptor count, eye on the prize, eye on the ball, and boom! 27 Hydras pop out and catch him by surprise. Now we hop into game number 3. Cactus Valley, do or die for both of these players. PiLiPiLi looking for that second Ladder Heroes Monthly Finals victory, and Namshar looking for his first ever in NA or EU. It's going to be an interesting one. This is not exactly a map that I would consider great for the Golden Armada style. And I say that just because I haven't seen a lot of it. I think it's because it's a big map, especially if you end up with cross spawns or something. You could just end up having too long of a distance to really do a whole lot. Maybe in horizontal or vertical spawns, you might actually see it. I'm not sure. I couldn't actually tell you why we don't see it that much more. Because I actually feel like it makes it a lot easier potentially to defend a third. This is a nice map where to just photon cannon up your third would be helpful. Defending 4 bases, I think, with the Golden Armada wouldn't be that crazy. We'll have to wait and see. We're hopping in Cactus Valley. We'll see you guys there. What you know? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're hopping into game number 3. I want to give a huge thank you to Snipe Hunt, by the way, for the 100-bit donation. It's seriously appreciated, man. I hope you're enjoying yourself. And I do apologize. I know it's been a while since you did that, but when the game is happening, I just want to have all the attention focused on the game. Not how much people contributing money to me or anything. But here we go. Spawning up in the ace match on Cactus Valley. We have the red Protoss player from Storm Gaming. Put your hands together for PiLiPiLi. And his opponent spawning up here on the top left-hand corner of the map. We have the blue Zerg player from Dead Pixels. Give it up for Namshar. Okay, PiLi going for a double gateway wall-in over here. This allows him to get up those 2 fast adepts. And gets a lucky scout on a 4-player map. Now, Namshar isn't doing anything too fishy. He's got a hatch gas pool, it looks like. Gonna get up a nice and ordinarily timed Zergling speed. And in that last game on Abyssal, he really ended up delaying getting up that third until he got out the Zerglings. Just a really, really safe play. PiLi's one of those tricky players I think it makes sense to play safely against. He loves to mix in the cheese. And it's going to be beneficial, especially since on Abyssal Reef, I think that he went for the probe and just kind of kept it over by the third. And could very well have gone for that pylon attack that I was talking about Hearthstone did, where you throw down a pylon by the third. And yeah, I think he's looking for it. He's waiting for that drone. Zergling's already out on the map, though. Namshar? Okay, yeah, he is going to send it over to the third. I think Namshar was just waiting until he got a full scout out on the position. Now sees it. Goes for that. Oh, did PiLi? Oh, yeah, PiLi lost the probe. A little bit unfortunate for him. Usually ideal not to lose it that early on. You can send it out across the map, buy some time, maybe force the Zerglings around. The Adepts make their way in. One Adept already lost most of its shields, and he's not going to actually finish that Shade. Well done. Gets 4 workers killed already. You got to be able to kill off a Zergling or 2 as well. I think he should end up losing one of these Adepts, but the other one should be able to finish its Shade into the main base. No, cancels it. Says, no, no, no. You can't just keep sending these drones back to me. Wow, though. Namshar was the counter retort saying, actually, I damn well can. PiLi gets 1 final worker kill on the extractor, getting up to 5 kills. Very well done. Nice micro between the two. Really just showing, I mean, that in and of itself was just a good display of how close this series has been as a whole. Twilight Council is going to be coming out from PiLiPiLi, though, so he's going to be playing a lot more similar to that game number 1 style. I think he's only up to, yeah, 3 gateways. Probably going to be seeing a Robo thrown down relatively shortly. Getting up his pylon, but wouldn't be surprised to see him take that third. Now, I have seen mix-ups. Some Protoss players in these kind of spawns have taken, like, the more forward third. Some Protoss players are taking the further back third. It really does depend on what kind of composition they want to go for. Gets the warp in over there at the Adept. Not going to let those Zerglings run into the main base and be annoying. Third gateway is finishing up. Where is the Robo? Maybe just delaying it until he gets up a third? Well, he's got the minerals banked up. He's got the gas banked up. He can do something with them. There's the Robo. Okay. And just going to continue producing more workers, it looks like. Warping in some more Adepts. Namshar, not really too sure what he's going to be up against. He's seen a few Adepts, but not a lot of them just yet. Only now are the Zerglings going to actually move in and potentially scat out the, how many there are. Oh, there is a empty hole over there. Gonna run straight into the main base, potentially kill off 2 or 3 workers. And the Adepts are just gonna stick around at home inside the natural. I actually really like it's a subtle thing. It's a bit of a gambit. Like, if the Zerglings just try and go ham on top of some of those workers, maybe you lose 3 or 4 just because you didn't send the Adepts straight into the main. But you leave the Adepts at the natural, it makes it so that those Zerglings try and bring around the Rosie with the Stalker coming in. They hop down to the natural, and you get a couple of good kills. Stop them from running around any longer, but all the Zerglings have been cleaned up. PiLiPiLi does take the, or is looking to take the further back third. A little bit later than I think I would have expected, but not so ridiculously late that it's absurd or obscene. He's got the Warp Prism now coming out as well. Adepts going to make their way across the map, and an interesting location. They go up, around, and then cut down to the south side. An Overlord should be able to spot them out if they try and move through the center, but they're not. They're going along the very, very far side. Look at this, though. Namshar is already prepared. He hasn't even seen those Adepts move out, but he knows he's got to have them over by that third. I think he may have a few over by the natural, but he's just prepared. There's not enough roaches, I think, to take on this entire Adept army, but with the reinforcements coming in, it does make it a little bit more one-sided. Layer's going to finally start up for Namshar. Third expansion for PiLi, not too far behind. Namshar, of course, sees that. I guess the question is, it's not even so much of a question these days. What is the follow-up going to be for PiLiPiLi? Well, he's going to get up Sentries, he's going to get up Immortals, and continue making Adepts. Immortal Sentry Adept is just, why wouldn't you go for it? It's such a strong composition. The only kind of mix-up I've seen is that players like Hearthstone will go for Charge instead. Even after having Resonating Glaze on those Adepts. And go into a big charge lot Archon style, get up a much faster Templar Archives. Still has the Robo usually. Needs it for the Warp Prism and some of the Immortals. But a lot of gateways being added on. This is that production flood for PiLiPiLi. Probably the most vulnerable point for a Protoss player moving into the mid-game. Oh, well. Is going to be this kind of time where those gateways are still finishing up, but Namshar has no intention of getting hyper-aggressive just yet. He's making 13 roaches, but I think it's partially in preparation for an attack later or just a defense later. But he really needs to start thinking about a 4th expansion at some point, I think. Unless he is just going to go for the big attack. So yeah, 59 workers is not an amazingly good economy. It's an okay economy. Not even fully saturated at the 3rd expansion. Still 3 drones short. 4 drones short in the main. And 1 drone short of a 4th expansion. Okay, PiLiPiLi is the one that's grouping up outside. Having produced so many of these roaches, Namshar might just be playing a little bit of the meta. Even if he hasn't scouted out a lot from PiLiPiLi, he can probably assume that this kind of attack is going to be coming. He's made a couple of Ravagers. He's gotten them in position. He's going to be able to catch PiLiPiLi before he moves down the ramp, which is a pretty big deal. If PiLiPiLi makes it down this ramp, that gives him a lot more opportunities for force fielding his opponent out. Well, he does make it down part of the ramp, but no, not going to be able... Oh, yeah, I think he kills one of his own Stalkers on accident. Bit of a mistake, but oh, he's going to make up for it with this kind of nice snag. Good Ravagers. Corrosive Biles undo the force fields and allow him to escape out with a lot of that army. Remember, Roach speed is finished up, and there's no upgrades on either side in terms of 1-1 or +1 weapons or armor. Some good force fields, but once again knocked down by the Corrosive Biles. I mean, it is a bit of a good play anyways for PiLiPiLi, but oh, he's losing a lot of his sentries. But Immortal's getting focus fire down. Only one Immortal left over. The Warp Prism's still alive. It's going to try and warp in some more units, but GG gets called. PiLiPiLi taps out, and Namshar makes his way to the grand finals of the NA Latin Heroes Monthly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a bit of a long day for me as I hop into my, what is this? 4th, 5th, 6th, almost 7th hour of casting. But it has been so much damn fun that I don't even feel tired. Our next match is going to be a Terran versus Zerg between the one and only True facing off versus Masa. Two very, very strong, technically Korean North Americans. True now living and has been living in the United States for a while at the Systrom Gaming House, and of course Masa has been a resident of Canada for quite a bit of time. We get ready to hop into that next match. It's going to be starting very shortly, so a much shorter break than usual as we get ready to hop into the next semifinals. I just need some time to drink some water, rest my throat for a moment, and we'll be back with our second semifinals match.